taking you through a very heartbreaking story that's come in, haunting end to what seemed like a dream life for this man. A tech genius from Mysuru, celebrated for building virtual worlds, has left behind a real-life nightmare. Harsha Kikeri, known in the tech circles as Harshvardhan, shot dead his wife and one of their sons inside their home in Newcastle, Washington, before turning the gun on himself. In fact, their 7-year-old son, younger son, survived because he was playing outside, we hear. And as soon as distress calls went to the cops, the King County Sheriff's Office responded. They found 3 lifeless bodies in the house. No answers. Of course, the son was devastated, we hear. Many questions being asked about what could have driven this man to something like this. He was so accomplished. He was admired for what he had achieved. He was hailed for his brilliance. But to get to such terrifying extremes, was this a business collapse or a mental health spiral, sudden fit of rage? We possibly will never know, but this man was always in his best spirits. From what we hear, he was highly motivated. In fact, this was his TED speech.
Can we actually use the machines to skill the humans? So the idea is completely inverting this process, saying, okay, can we actually use like robots and machines to teach humans? Because so many humans are in need of skills. And you have all heard about how machine learning can do this, can do that. But do we really need more machine learning to take away jobs? Instead of that, can we, I think machines have learned enough to be students. They have been students long enough. Can we make them graduate and become teachers?
That was Harshvardhan. That was just a snippet of an 18-minute TED talk that he gave. Very motivating and seemed like a high achiever. Speaking about the transformative power of his work and AI, he seemed like quite a visionary. He hails from Mysuru. Quite a shining example there, certainly, of the brilliance that South Indian techies are known to be. He really embodied that. He represented the best of us, an Indian success story shaping global innovation, and yet something crumbled. Now, to talk about this, I have with me Dr. Kiranpreet Kaur, who's a top global acquisition voice. We also have Dr. Rachna Khanna, who's a psychologist, joining us. Netra Bhatia, also a psychologist. To give us a little sense, I'll start with Kiranpreet. This man here, Harshvardhan, located in the United States, was a real achiever. He's had huge success in what he did. So we can't fathom what could have led to this extreme step. Would you want to tell us what an entrepreneurial journey really is like? Do we glamorize it way beyond our comfort?
First and foremost, I think this is a very heartbreaking and tragic event, and the thoughts go out to everyone affected. I think it's a reminder that behind corporate titles and responsibilities, we're all human, and there are emotional limits. And very rightly said, I mean, the top level, always feel very isolated and vulnerable. And this is time that we start, talking about it openly, normalize it that I need a break, I need help. I mean, it only builds a healthier corporate culture, top down. And I think investors,
Norm in the corporate setup, does that even happen? Is there space for people, high achievers like him? I'm sure you'd know, for people who are real hustlers, do they even believe in something like seeking help?
Well, honestly speaking, we don't have anything of that sort much because hustle culture is glorified everywhere, and it goes beyond boundaries. I mean, the boundaries are a little blurred when it comes to professional and personal well-being. They're constant entrepreneur, or the top management usually is under constant pressure to deliver, whether it's quarterly results, staying ahead in the corporate competitive market in the corporate. Um, so it is high on vulnerability and extreme loneliness, which then, it's more on unspoken mental health battles. I would say it's a life cycle that we have to
And
silently
what's the
suffer.
kind of coping mechanism that you've seen high performing individuals hold on to?
I think psychologically, when they are, they address these issues, a regular psychological evaluation should not be a taboo, and it should be normalized. And people who have access to it have always, shown high performance and also balanced their work life very well.
All right. Dr. Rachna, your intervention on this, looking very closely into a case like this man has gone to an extreme case of abnormality where he's killed his own family before taking his own life, right? He spared his 7-year-old son, that too because the boy was outside. But how would you look at this?
So we are seeing very many cases like this of homicide, of suicide. We are seeing very many cases, and and they have become very rampant over the last couple of years. We can see that there is an immense pressure on the society. There is specifically, if we are seeing here, it's the corporate sector, and as very rightly said right now on the panel, that as you go higher up, the level of loneliness goes up and up. And in fact, I mean, I deal with a lot of CEOs on almost a daily basis, and it's very sad to know that people barely have any time for themselves, leave aside for their family or a social life. So a holistic living, what we profess, is not being led. Now, when that starts to happen, the pressure on an individual grows so immensely. So this person is not like he's a murderer, it's not like that. There is obviously, either there is some sort of mental health condition which he was already suffering from. There could have been anxiety, there could have been depression. We really don't know that. And what else? We don't even know if there could have been a psychotic medical condition, which is like schizophrenia, bipolar. We really don't know that, right? And having said that, we need to understand that today, literally 1 out of every 3 persons is having some mental health condition or the other. And we as a society are negating and dismissing it. And I see very sadly when a lot of people, kids, teenage kids, go to their parents, or people go and ask for help, and they just dismiss, saying it's not a big deal and we can deal with it ourselves. And it's okay. We used to feel like that. Talk to a friend. No, it is not like that. I don't think we need to dismiss the signs or the red flags at all. Whether the red flags are coming in a colleague, they're coming in a friend, it becomes literally our responsibility to take take them to get some help, because it's very hard for somebody who's going through a mental health condition to seek help themselves. So ideally, like platforms like this, I'm so sorry something like this has happened to an entire family and such an intelligent human being. And what a waste of
Yeah.
a life, I would say. And it's sad, but having said that, this also shows us that how much is the need for psychoeducation in the society, for us to get up to take help when we are having issues. So this is the typical case where there has been so much a build-up of pent-up frustration, probably with an underlying mental health condition, which has led to something like this.
So drastic, right? Dr. Netra, we often do not check on a person who's visibly, seemingly strong, brave, a hustler, a top performer. You think, yeah, well, he or she is sorted, right? What are really the signs to catch on to? Warning signs of someone who may not be doing well. And when we're still, of course, decoding this, right? We are still awaiting for the police to tell us what really drove this. If was this any other third-party intervention in this case of killing, or was it just out of his own psyche that he carried out this crime?
Yeah, so first foremost thing is definitely it's a very unfortunate incident which happened. And when it comes to the warning signs, not all the depressive symptoms it's look like the person is sad, or the people have only the loss of interest, or they are just weeping and crying. These are definitely the depressive symptoms, but not every time a person who is mentally ill, or we say is going through some kind of psychiatric disorder or mental illness, is basically it's sometimes it comes with a change in sleep, change in sleeping habits, acute stress which the person may not be able to deal with, may not be able to talk to any when it comes to personal professional health. There's increased irritability, anger. These are the signs which we call it as maybe the kind of a stressful day. Maybe I am having a stressful day. That is why I'm increased irritability. But all these things, when it goes on acute and left untreated comes as a symptoms, as comes as a warning signs, which we need to cater, which we need to take care of when it comes to taking the health and taking the treatment and taking the caution very carefully.
You know, at the end of it, he's killed his family. If allegations are true that it was indeed who did it and not an unidentified person who carried out the murder, if it was him indeed, then he killed his family. How does one get them on board uh, into believing that they should also end their lives with him?
It comes with also with a distorted thinking that I need to I need to protect my family. I need to protect my family from all the kind of the future stressors, from all kind of the future harms. So this comes as a distorted thinking, which we say in psychological language, that this distorted thinking to protecting the family is basically which can lead person to the family suicide.
Finally, Dr. Rachna, from you on the fact that he was an immigrant at the end of it. Dr. Kaur also could possibly jump in on this. Could this add to a person's vulnerability? I mean, he was doing very well, but the fact that he was a person of color, he was in the United States, at the end of it, it was his company. He could have been bootstrapped. Must have been a real struggle. Give us more on the fact that an immigrant setting up business there, how difficult could that be?
It is indeed an extreme struggle. It can be an extreme struggle when we are not in our home ground in any which way, right? So when we are in a comfort zone, obviously a lot of the triggers, a lot of the stimuli, they go down, and we don't become that reactive. But in a place where we are uncomfortable already mentally, if that if there are things they add to our bucket, so what happens is, so for example, the discomfort of, maybe we would say, we don't know about the racism, we don't know, or we also don't know if there's could be a struggling social circle, struggling economy. There could be so many struggling finances. There could be so many different aspects of pressure on this individual, and certainly not being in your own comfort zone increases your susceptibility towards any kind of mental health concerns or any kind of mental health disorder that
Yeah.
becomes it when the moment we are comfortable, we start decreasing that. So another very important thing to understand is this: man is a social being. We cannot stay without a good social structure. When we go outside into another country to get accepted there, and to also start to walk their talk, is not that easy, specifically when we are with the family.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if you're already struggling at work, and work life balance becomes a very big challenge over there, and that is why you're seeing a lot of exodus of people coming back home now.
Yeah,
Ever since we're seeing that India has, economy is improved and so many things, it's become so lucrative, and you're seeing immense number of people who are moving back home
yeah,
from
yeah, yeah.
from there. It's not so lucrative to go now
Let
to
me
the
get that
west.
from Ms. Kaur. On the American dream, is that still an ambition that many hold, or should this give us a reality check?
I think it's giving us a reality check because while today's corporate culture glorifies hustle, perfection, non-stop productivity, I think we need to talk about the cost. And in the end, it's about mental burnout, isolation, emotional breakdowns, especially among those leaders who are trying to build something from scratch. Sleepless nights, investor pressure, personal sacrifices, and in many cases, no one to talk to. It's quite lonely at the top in a lot of cases. So we need to ask: are we really building companies, or burning out humans in the process? It's time we integrate emotional well-being into the leadership part. It's important through therapy, coaching. It should be part of a business KPI, not a soft HR initiative, I would say.
Well, I think that's loud and clear. Thanks very much, Dr. Kiran Preet, Netra, and Dr. Rachna for joining us with that.